Everyone, I'd like to introduce Filip from Ryerson University. Filip is the men's head coach of the program, and I'm delighted to have him and two of his players to present to you what Ryerson all stands about and what CIS soccer is all about, playing in the East Division. So it'll be a different insight than what you've heard from schools that are in the West. So Filip, thank you very much for taking the time to come out and joining us today. It is really been a good experience, and we look forward to hearing from you about what Ryerson's all about.
It's my pleasure. Appreciate you having on, David. For those of you that don't know, David's a pretty big deal in Canada soccer. So I would, make sure you're kind of your lucky stars that you have someone like that and representing and leading your club. The way today's going to work, I'm going to try and do as little as talking as much as possible, and definitely open up the stage for questions and let Tony and Andrew speak as much as possible. But I'm going to talk a little bit about our program, what it means to be a Ryerson student athlete, kind of the things I'm looking for from prospective student athletes, and then just a couple other things about scholarships that I think are really important to know, and we'll take it from there. I don't see Andrew Diaz on, so Tony, why don't we start with you? And if Andrew comes on, great. If not, no worries. Tony, you there? We can't hear you.
Yeah, sorry. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we're good. We're good. Yeah, you're good. You can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah, my Wi-Fi is kind of slow.
No worries.
Yeah. So my name is Tony Carrick. I'm currently a second-year student at Ryerson. I'm no longer with the men's program right now. I'm currently signed professionally at TFC. But yeah, I'll just speak about my journey. So I grew up playing local clubs around the GTA, local academies, hopping from team to team. And then eventually I signed on to Ryerson. Coach Phil and Coach Casey recruited me kind of late on in the recruiting process, but I'm grateful that they did. And then, before I joined Ryerson, I got an opportunity to go on trial with TFC. I went there for 2 weeks. They wanted to take me, but I was already committed to Ryerson. So we made a deal. I go play my season with Ryerson, and then I can go join the academy. And then, it worked out with the academy. I eventually was able to go to the Toronto C2, which is their second team. And they offered me a pro contract. So I took the contract. Unfortunately, I had to say goodbye to Ryerson, but, I'm grateful for everything Coach Phil and Casey did. It's a great program. It's a great school as well. Academically, it's, I think, one of the best ones around Ontario. I don't think it's the praise that it deserves. But yeah, even when it comes to athletics and education, the balance, everything's very professional. I know from the men's soccer team, even the women's, I see there's some girls in this call too, even the women's soccer team, very professional environment, very professional facilities. We have a world, I think, top of the line gym athletic center called the Mattamy Athletic Center downtown, as well as our home field, Downsview Park. I'm sure most of you have probably played there over the years. It's a great turf field. But yeah, the environment, it's all professional. It feels like you're playing at a professional club, but at the same time, it's just university level. But the quality's there. And even with the potential to still go pro, as you can see, I think I'm a perfect example of that. I only spent 1 year at Ryerson, and I was able to go pro. And there was a few more other players who got to. Robbie Boskovic is another one that got to go play for TFC after a few years at Ryerson. So there is potential, definitely. But yeah, even just the culture at Ryerson, it's a great time. Once you join, you're a part of a family. I think not only just with a family within your team, like the men's soccer team, but I think every athletic team, we all become very close. We all hang out. We all like to go out on weekends sometimes, like when we don't have games or practices. You make a bunch of new friends through the athletics as well. For me, it was honestly a great time. I'm kind of upset I only got to spend a year there. I wish I got to spend more, but even just within that year, I've met people that I became best friends with, and I still talk to this day, even though I don't play for the team anymore. So, yeah, I'm just grateful for everything that happened. I highly recommend it. It's a great time.
Thanks, Tony. Diaz, Andrew Diaz, you're up. You're up. Say something smart.
Okay. What's up, guys? I'm Andrew. When I first joined Ryerson, I was on TFC at the time, and I had to choose between Ryerson and a few other schools. And I think the main reason why I ended up choosing Ryerson, to me, was the culture, just like Tony was saying. With other teams, some of the older guys, like the 4th and 5th years, they would kind of look down at you a little bit. They kind of treated you like you were nothing, like you were like a water boy on the team or something. But with Ryerson, like I immediately felt like I was like a family member on the team. I immediately felt like an equal member, which is definitely a big thing, because I know joining especially a university team with some older guys and older girls, it can be intimidating. But because I was already close friends with some of the guys and they really welcomed me with open arms, I immediately felt a part of the team, and it made my decision a lot easier. And I'm sure some of you are still looking to go professional. And something that I really want to preach to you guys is choosing a university soccer team is not you saying no to your dream to go pro. I think Tony's the perfect example of that. In his first year at Ryerson, he wasn't even on TFC at the beginning. He had an amazing season, and now he's on TFC2. He's going to be on the first team really soon. Because Ryerson's such a great program, like Tony was saying, such a great field, such great coaching staff, such a great team. We're right beside Toronto FC Academy, the training ground. Coach Phil has such a great relationship with TFC. He has a great relationship with the CPL teams as well. So that's such a realistic goal for you to still go to Ryerson and also still become a professional soccer player if that's something that you really want to do. And in terms of school, I'm sure you guys are thinking, man, it's going to be super tough to handle school and soccer at the same time. Definitely the first couple of weeks, you might get a little overwhelmed. You might have to take 4 courses instead of 5. But after the first couple of weeks, you're gonna be very comfortable. Being an athlete at Ryerson means you have unlimited resources for tutoring and stuff like that. And in fact, the best tutors are the guys that are on your team or the girls that are on your team. The ones that are a bit older than you and have already taken the courses that you're about to take, and also the guys and the girls that you're going to be in classes with. There were some classes where I was with like 5 of my boys and we did everything together. So in terms of the schooling, trust me, after the first couple of weeks, you're going to be comfortable. And honestly, like Tony was saying, your time on Ryerson is going to be the best 4 or 5 years of your life. This team is a lot of fun. You're going to be joining a family. You're going to be joining a brotherhood. You're going to make friends for life. We went to the World Cup back in 2018. So I know Phil's incentive for you guys to come is that you're going to be going to the next World Cup, which no other university can say. And yeah, this team's a lot of fun, and it was definitely the best 5 years of my life. And that's all I got.
Appreciate you guys. Appreciate you guys taking the time. David, I don't know if you want to let the kids ask just the players some questions now before we let them go, or do you want us to continue?
No, leave it open. If they've got some questions they can ask. There's always a few that are thinking, should I not? But it's been good that they ask questions. So I'll wait for them to put up their hand and they can ask a question. But to the both of them, it's great to hear of what their accomplishment is. And I really think it's been really the first time I've heard players and coaches even talk about that you can tie the opportunity to play professionally and go to school, right? Usually it's people saying, oh, you should just go pro or you should just go to school, depending on, who's surrounding them. But to be able to see Tony and Andrew look at the fact that you can tie both of them together, I think that's the first time I've ever heard that. And I think that's great for them to understand that they don't need to give up their dreams. There's just different pathways to your dreams. And I think In the States, it's a lot more prevalent that, you know, you go to your school for 4 years and then graduate and go to MLS if you can, or USL or wherever. But that opportunity now is being showcased by Tony and Andrew. So I really appreciate the fact that they're saying those words and living them even more so, because it's easy to say, actions are hard. So what I want to do, though, if I can ask them a question, is you know, if you've played at the university level, and Tony, now you're going on to playing at TFC, and Andrew, you're looking at moving on as well, is what can the players do now before they get to university to understand how to develop themselves culturally, mentally, physically for the university level? So from a player point of view rather than a coach.
Well, for the physical and like the soccer standpoint of it, I always tell myself I wish I started earlier. More of the private training, like you got to put in the work on your own. It's not just the team environment's not enough. I'm sure it is still quality training, but it's not enough. You have to do your own running, your own strength work, your own even stretching. Stretching is just as important. Just anything to get you that little bit better. In terms of like cultural, just being like an open person, you know, open to all possibilities, have an open mind. Don't be afraid to ask questions, meet new people, just be open, have a positive spirit, and work hard, and things can go your way. Andrew, I don't know if you want to tag on.
I couldn't say any of that better, to be honest. Yeah, I was just like working on your own, definitely. And the culture thing, it's just kind of being yourself and being very open to, you know, Coach Phil's criticism. You know, he'll tell you the things that you need to get better at, and your response will be absolutely. And you're going to work on that, you know, 5 times a week, 7 times a week, just working on whatever Coach Phil thinks you need to improve on. But before then, yeah, it's working on your own. It's working on the things that, you know, you think that are your weaknesses currently. If right now you're struggling with your weak foot, you need to really work on your weak foot. Or if it's your finishing, you really need to work on your finishing. It's kind of like building on your strengths, but to me, I think it's also working on your weaknesses is the big thing.
Okay, so there's something really good that you said, Andrew, is criticism. Okay,
Yeah.
and I think I'm in a different generation than you are, for sure, right? And today's generation, the vast majority do not like the criticism they get, right? So between yourself, Tony, and Philip, how should the players look at criticism? How should they look to accept it, how to deal with it, how to process it, how to use it to their advantage? What advice can you guys give them as players to deal with the criticism that is always going to be coming at you?
With criticism, the best way to look at it is, this is the way that I'm going to get better. And you honestly have to say, thank God he told me that, because if he didn't, then I wouldn't know that I need to get better at that for some reason. Like, you know, if I didn't know that I need to work on the outside of my foot shot, for example, it's just something really great to know. And those are the things that are going to make you a lot better. And to definitely not take it personally, because I know you were saying like your feelings can get hurt or something like that, and that's the worst mindset to have. Definitely don't take it personally. Just use it as motivation to get better, because if going pro is what you want to do, then that's what you're going to need to do. So
Okay.
Yeah, even I can relate personally to that, because I'm not gonna lie, I changed before university, before I went to the pro level, but growing up from the ages like 14 to 17, I was someone who didn't take criticism well. I'm not gonna lie, I would get frustrated with anyone who tried to, you know, tell me something. I was the type of player to, you know, talk back to the ref. My coach would get mad at me for that. My mom, I'm pretty sure most of these players can relate to their parents giving them criticism or getting mad at them for something they've done. But I wish I knew what I knew now back then, because now I know that they just want the best for you, whether it's the coaches or your parents. And yeah, just stay calm and just enjoy it. Don't stress it. It's nothing to stress. Just enjoy it. Take it in, soak it in, understand what's being said to you, and just put it into your game and enjoy it.
Okay. So I've lied, Philip. I'm going to ask him another question then, because the kids haven't got one yet. So to help the players understand, what's life like at the next level of what you've got to be committed to from a player point of view? So, we talked about criticism. So we've talked about working at your game and so forth, but what's the coaching like at the university level, guys? Take Filip out of the equation, because let's look at it as across the board for university level. So they understand that if Ryerson's not their right choice and another school is, that most university coaches know each other, and there's a level of a commitment on today you have to win. So what's life like listening to a university coach now?
Yes, do you want to start it or?
That's an. Can you take this one? I'm gonna have to think about this one.
Yeah, let's hear it. Be honest.
We want you to understand it, Pickering. You ain't getting the easy questions about, well, what time of day do you practice and this and that. The kids will ask you those. We're the ones that get right down to the core to really understand, is Ryerson helping us think about the next level, right?
Like
Because
that.
you're going to go on to I don't know. Jason's gone from TFC too, right? So it's a different coaching staff and so forth. So even if you give a little bit of an insight of what coaches are like and demanding expectation of the minute that you make a mistake, what's it like? Like, how many times do you, like, even better, the way I looked at it is, how many times do you have to be told to do something on the field before you know you're in real trouble? How many times
Well,
does a coach tell you to do something on the field before he says or she says, okay, you don't want to do it, this is what's going to happen?
Well, for me, from my personal experience with Coach Phil, and then even my new coach at TFC2, Mike Nunez, it's very. I'm sure other universities are just like this too. The university coaches, I mean, it's discipline. There is strictness to it. They do. It's not nothing to just joke around about. It is serious because it's their job on the line too. People got to understand that. Coaches aren't just doing it for their free time or something. Like, these coaches are being paid to do this. This is their job. They need to succeed just as much as we need to succeed. So we need to play for them. So I think definitely they do have a strict demand. If we're talking like how many times do you have to be told something, it should be once and you should fix that mistake right away. They shouldn't have to tell you twice. Once they tell you once, then it's all up to the player. It's a personal thing for the player. They got to step up and perform. If not, you see it on the professional level too. They cut players right away. They don't care. It's their job on the line as much as it's yours. So you got to take in that information as quick as possible. They tell you once, and you make sure you never do it again. You gotta respect what they tell you too. They're much older than you. They have more knowledge, and you gotta show them great respect, just like as if they're your parents. You gotta show them the respect. And yeah, I don't know, Diaz, if you have anything to add on to that.
Yeah, just kind of like what Tony was saying. It is a very professional environment. So you actually have every practice, especially practice, but also the games, of course. You have to treat everything like it's your job. Your job's on the line every practice. And one thing that I really need to preach to these young guys and girls is that, Tony was a first year and he was taking over people's jobs who were in fifth year. Like, it doesn't matter if you're in fourth year and fifth year. If you're a first year and you're playing extremely well, you're going to take that person's spot. So there's no sort of hierarchy. And that's what Coach Phil did really well, is that, if you deserve to play, you're going to play. In terms of the discipline stuff, yeah, he doesn't take crap from no one. So if you're not performing, you're not going to play. You got to treat it like a job for sure.
All right, so you guys you're bringing it out, so I'm going to ask you another question, because for the last 2.5 months, Filip, the players have been working on individual goals, team goals. They're looking at the values of what they want to have. So most things that most youth clubs do not talk about is something that bringing it from the top level down and through the club, and the kids are going to pick the values that they want to live by. So they're going to live by the values. So I want to ask the question is for you to answer to them is, how do you police your team when you don't feel a player has committed that skipped practice, or their intensity level of practice is not high enough, or you have a player that's having an off day, or a player that's going through the rough period because Philip is taking him off as a starter, now they're on the bench, or anything that goes from a positive to a negative or two negatives, how do you guys, or does Philip police the team? How do you take care of those things when
I
players are out of integrity?
Yeah, no, I think once you're part of the team, especially the older guys, they'll take you in right away, and you guys are like we said before, it's like a family. So if one person's slacking, whether it's the captain or just any of us, we're on them. We're telling them to pick it up, whether it's on the field or even academically, because we have standards for a certain GPA. Can't remember exactly what the GPA is you need to stay on the team or to even practice. But yeah, if someone's slacking, we're there to help them, to tutor them. We're their first resource. If they need help tutoring or anything, you ask your teammates. It's I don't know, like a 25-man roster. You have a bunch of what I would say brothers or even sisters. I'm talking about both teams, because I have good friends on the women's team too. They say the same thing about their team. Everyone's together. Everyone's on their butts, should I say? And if we can't help, like your teammates can't help, yeah, you go to Phil, you go to Casey, they'll help you. But I think once you're into university, you're at that age where you gotta figure it out yourself or work with your teammates, and I'm sure it'll be able to work it out no matter what your problem is.
Yeah, just to add on to that, I think, sometimes when a player is playing really well or something, and then, like you were saying, they kind of go down, maybe they're not performing as well for a few weeks or something like that. Usually stuff like that is, maybe something at home's not right, or like maybe your academics are suffering a little bit. So maybe you're suffering on the field because of that. And a lot of that, what's a great thing about Coach Phil and Coach Casey, they have such an open door policy where if you're having issues and they can tell, they will sit you aside and they will talk to you and be like, okay, what's going on and how can we help? Because a lot of times when you're suffering on the field, it's not even because of your performance, it's because of things that are going on outside of the field, whether it's school, family, like I was saying before. And our coaching staff does a really good job of, communicating with our players, having that open door policy and figuring out what's wrong and how can we kind of help you get past that. And usually that really helps your performance later on.
Okay. So the kids have got a couple of questions. I don't know if it's for you guys or for Philip, probably you guys. So if you don't mind staying on a little bit longer.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
Hader,
Yeah.
do you have a question?
Hi, coach and players. My name is Hader. I'm part of the U16, U17 OPL team. And my question is for the players. How has playing at Ryerson enhanced your playing ability?
How hard is it to play? Well, like I
No, I
said,
think you said.
I
Wait, what
sorry.
was the question?
How is playing at Ryerson enhanced your playing ability?
How's it enhanced it? Yeah.
Oh, enhanced it.
Yeah, enhanced it.
Well, me and Tony, we're Toronto FC players, so we're definitely quality players going into it. But then Coach Phil will be like, you know what, your weak foot still sucks. So like, even though we're great players going into it, he will critique you and make sure that the things that you're not amazing at, you will get better at. So you do leave the program better than when you came into it.
Yeah, even I can relate personally to that, because growing up, I was always a center midfielder. I was more of a defensive midfielder. Sometimes I'll push up into like even the cam position occasionally. As soon as I joined Ryerson, after my first game of playing center mid with Ryerson, Phil took me center back. And I never saw a center mid again. So he gave me a big position change, and it worked out at the end, because now I'm playing professionally as a center back. So yeah, it's definitely changed me changed my position and changed for the better. So they know what they're doing, the coaches. So just have faith in them.
Okay. Zach?
Hi guys, my name is Zach Langer. I play for the 2006 boys CSL team, and I have a question for the players. Did you guys have any requirements that you had to meet, like to play, like a grade average or something like that?
Yeah, so in your first year, you need to maintain a 2.0 GPA, which, if I'm not mistaken, coach, is it like a 65 average or something like that? Or a 60?
Yeah, incoming players have to maintain a 2.0 to be on the team, and every returner, second year and up, has to maintain a 2.5. That's above the university average. So although you're eligible to play, no player on our team that doesn't have a 70 average will play. It doesn't matter who you are, Diaz, Tony, or anybody. So that's part of the expectations that they know coming in, the academic expectations. And I'm really upfront in the recruiting process about that, so they know what they're coming into. And players that don't like that academic standard, it's even better for us because I get to know right away if they're made of what I need. And that's one of the expectations, the academic. We also in the past have had fitness expectations, community service expectations, and just overall attitude and kind of team chemistry expectations. So it's a great question, but the hard and fast ones are the academic ones, no doubt.
Philip, that's just your school, right? It's different at every school, or is it standard across CIS?
So that expectation I told you about, the 2.5 GPA for every member, that's just the Ryerson men's soccer rule. That's just a rule that I made that I like people that are dedicated and have their stuff together. And then, believe it or not, I'm setting you up for the next stage of your life. You might not think you want to do a master's or something, but when that day comes, you'll be thanking me that I was so tough on you.
Okay. So I'll let the players go, Philip, so that it's just, they've got their time and things that they've got to do. And I appreciate that both Tony and Andrew came on here, and I wish you all the very best at TFC. I'll be waiting for my tickets. That'll be in the mail, hopefully, so no problem there. I'm sure you're going to get an abundance of people asking for them, but it's okay. I don't need them. I'm already supporting you by sitting in the stand and behind the net, so I can see you coming or going. All right. So
Sounds good.
I appreciate your time. Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. See you. See you.
Okay. Philip, you want to carry on?
Sure. I'm going to start real quick. I'm going to show you. It looks like I can share my screen here. I'm going to show you. I'm going to play this. It's a quick 2-minute video. It's about our team trip to the World Cup. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what that trip meant, what it took to get there. And if you can't hear it after 5 seconds, David, let me know if the sound doesn't work. Otherwise, we'll let it run.
Okay. Yeah, it's a bit hard to hear, but it can see the pictures. It can see the video.
You can't hear it?
It's hard to hear. Sometimes on WebEx it doesn't work properly.
Okay.
But if you just play the video and you want to talk or just let it play out, we can see the video.
All right.
That's disgusting. Seventeen, 18, 19. It's amazing that you can use a sport like this to really connect with another community. Let's go, boys!
So, Philip, this is obviously their community service when they're at the World Cup.
What's that?
This is their community service that they're doing while at the World Cup.
That's right. This is when we volunteered our time at an orphanage there for 2 days. We connected with them before we went there.
Oh, that's
And
great.
this was easily the highlight of the whole trip.
How big is the orphanage that was there?
I think there were about 60 or 70 kids that stayed at the orphanage. Yeah.
Kids get to know them.
We were there for 2 days. We spent 2 different days with them, hanging out, reading with them, obviously running a little soccer tournament for them, interacting with our guys. And of the entire trip, it's just wrapping up here. Of the entire trip, we got to stop sharing. So it was a really incredible trip. And why I wanted to show that was there's something that we preach a lot in our program. It's called more than soccer. So if you're coming, I'll start with this. If you're coming just to be a soccer player at Ryerson, we're not the school for you. If you're just coming, showing up at practice when it starts and leaving as soon as it ends, not worrying about academics, not engaging in lifelong relationships with your teammates, not thinking about growing as an entire person, Ryerson's probably not the right fit for you. And yeah, we went to the World Cup and we're going to go to every World Cup now as long as I'm the coach. And we got to see Messi play in the World Cup. We got to see Brazil and Serbia play. My family's Serbian, so we had to go watch them play. It didn't go so well for us, but it was still a great experience. So we got to see that. We got to play Spartak Moscow and Lokomotiv there, their U23 teams. And then we went to go to an orphanage. And you would think soccer players get to see Messi and all this stuff. The only thing the players talk about is the 2 days we spent at the orphanage, how they interacted with the kids, how we want to do more of that stuff. Hey, how important that is to something they've never experienced before, understanding how lucky and fortunate they are to be in the position they are in a wonderful country and having supportive parents and all that kind of stuff. So, the soccer is one piece, but I'm sure David has told you, this is just a platform to grow you as people, to take the next step in your life, to experience things you may not have. And so that trip was really about opening their eyes to a new experience. And that's the big thing about when you come to Ryerson. My job is to create an incredible student experience. And yeah, you can see our record. We've been very fortunate to win a lot of games and do some great stuff and be ranked and blah, blah, blah. But the big pieces of our program and the real successes are players graduating, the community service events, going to players' weddings. We always say, I know I'm doing my job right if years down the line, if these guys are in each other's wedding parties. That's how I know I've done my job right. Yeah. And the winning and all that stuff is fun, but that comes as a result of all these positive things that your program provides. That's just a byproduct of hard work, of being a brotherhood, sisterhood. So, it's really important that you understand when you're choosing your university that not only should you meet with the coach and meet with the team because it's a 4 or 5 year relationship and commitment, you guys better get along. You better be able to take the coach's crap. You better be able to understand the standards you're going into a program. Because if not, number one, you won't last very long. And number two, you won't have an enjoyable experience. So it's really, really important to do your research before you go to a school so you know what you're getting yourself into. I want to talk a little bit more about the student experience at Ryerson and what you can expect on a daily basis at Ryerson. One thing that I think is really, really unique is the support services that are offered to Ryerson students. So Ryerson has 8 varsity teams. A lot of schools have 20, 30, 40, 50 varsity teams. Some of you aren't old enough to know this, but there are a lot less mouths to feed, because there's only 8 varsity teams. The resources, the woman and manpower, the financial piece of it goes a lot further when you only have 8 teams. So, our state-of-the-art facility downtown is Maple Leaf Gardens. And I've shown Maple Leaf Gardens around to students and parents hundreds of times. And it's always the parents that leave blown away because they've got memories of Maple Leaf Gardens and watching the Leafs and watching the Beatles and Bob Marley. And the players are just like, this is cool. This is nice. This is shiny. So the Maple Leaf Gardens is being reinvented into an incredible athletic facility where every team has an incredible change room. You walk in every day, you can drop off your gear. They do laundry for you. You grab a towel, full-time strength and conditioning, full-time athletic therapy. You can just book on your phone if you want extra sessions outside the team environment, a gym that's open to you anytime, yoga classes, kettlebell, all that kind of stuff. And on top of that, even the academic services that are available. I know Andrew Diaz spoke to it a bit, but each team has a tutor that follows them around on road trips. And this tutor, an academic kind of support person, makes sure everyone is handed in their assignments. Everyone's done their homework. Everyone's done their pieces. And then they report back to me. And if someone hasn't done their piece throughout the week or missed a quiz or didn't hand something in, it's easy. They don't play, right? So the academic support on the road, also the study hall, there's a certain standard of hours you have to commit to. If you come in with inadequate grades, you've got to do 2, 4, 6 hours a week. Then only once you show that you're competent academically and you can handle soccer and academics, do you get to release those hours? Okay, so on top of that, there's tutors at your disposal. So on a daily day of Ryerson student athlete, you're really, really well supported with everything you need to be successful, both in the classroom and outside the classroom. Let me tell you about what I'm looking for. And every coach is a little different. And I'll tell you the 3 things, or maybe 4 or 5 on and off the field that I'm looking for. And I try and figure out by talking to the coaches, talking to the TDs, talking to the parents about what this player is all about. So number 1, my favorite thing in any player is passion and dedication to play. I love players that love playing, that want more training, that text me at midnight, say, hey, can we get up at 8 and work more? You know, players that hate losing, are depressed when they lose, not, oh, whatever, next one. You know, I love players that are really passionate about their craft and willing to put in extra work to become the absolute best. That's my number 1 quality, because that's a quality that is transferable to any piece of your life, whether it's soccer, whether it's your next stage of your life, whether it's your family, your relationships. That one quality, I know, when that person has that, I know they'll be successful in our program. Number 2, I like people that come in with an incredible work ethic. So not only the passion to play, but the ability and willingness to work when they're here. You know, the understanding that they're not perfect, the understanding that the coach is giving them some feedback they won't like, but they understand it's in the best interest of them. You know, David asked a fantastic question earlier about criticism and being tough on players and giving it to them. I always say to our players, when I'm not talking to you and I'm not on you, then you should be worried. Then you should be really worried. If we're not talking much and communicating, then you know I've moved on. Then you know I've told you something 10 times and you still do the opposite, whether it's on or off the field. And now I'm just going to let you do your own thing and train and probably sit on the bench and then do your own thing. So if a coach is on you and yelling at you and trying to get the best out of you, believe me, it's a really, really good sign. Really good sign. When you feel like, well, the coach hasn't yelled at me in a week, I must be doing something right. It's usually the opposite. And lastly, I like someone that's a really selfless player. I don't know if any guys or girls saw a game last weekend, Champions League. It was Chelsea versus, who was it? Atletico Madrid. There were 3 players from Chelsea that didn't play. One was injured, one didn't get selected, and one something else. They were screaming and cheering from the sidelines, yelling at their teammates, encouraging them to win the game. So I like players that are selfless, that are team first, hardworking, and really passionate about what they do. That's kind of the intangibles I like. Well, I see some people writing. I like that.
It's good actually that you said that, Philip, because it's something that I've been very big on to change the culture in a club, is talking about what the chemistry is like on the bench. You know, what their facial expressions are, how involved are they for their teammate? Because obviously when they go on, you're hoping to get the same thing, because we're not getting large crowds that are going to cheer you on. So I really like that, because I've been on them about watching March Madness and the NBA and in the bubbles, and you just look at the way that the bench is pushing the players on. So I appreciate that.
It's absolutely true. On the field attributes, I'll tell you 2 things that I really like about on the field attributes. Number 1 is a term that gets used very often and often isn't explained. Something called soccer IQ. So soccer IQ. Who is this? Antonio, tell me what you think soccer IQ means.
Maybe your ability to read the game. I don't know.
Okay. That's pretty good. Yeah, that's pretty good. Ernesto, tell me about soccer, having high soccer IQ. What does that mean? You hear it all the time.
Your ability to understand the game and how to contracept what your coaches are telling you, and what to do when you're all alone, and to make decisions, basically.
Perfect. I think both of you said some really important things there. To make the right decisions, to understand what the coach is trying to say. I'll add on to this. There's several times that coaches go into games with a game plan that's perfect, and we figured it all out, and we're going to do this and play this formation, we're going to press, we're going to sit, all this stuff. And in 5 minutes in our head, we're like, well, that's not going to work today for whatever reason, and we need to change. And then maybe at halftime or a quick conversation, we say, hey, we need to do this, this, and this. The ability for me to tell you something and for you to apply it quickly or if I mention something once in a video session or in a private conversation, and your ability to apply it to a game, for me, that's really, really high soccer IQ. You also mentioned decision making, so I also think helping teammates and putting them in positions to be successful. That's for me a high soccer IQ. Not only is your game, elevated, but you elevate the game of people around you. Think to yourself, when you pass the ball to somebody, are they immediately pressured? Do they usually turn it over? Are they in a tough spot? Or whenever you release a pass, is the person always in an advantageous and successful position a few seconds later? That's how you know where your soccer IQ is at. So that's one. The next thing I like a player that has one outstanding physical attribute. So it doesn't have to be, you don't have to be LeBron James, you don't have to have everything, but I like a player that's exceptionally strong on the ball, exceptionally pacey or fast, quick, agility. Or like me, when I was a player, I wasn't any of those things. So I was like, okay, I don't have an edge physically. I'm going to commit myself to be the fittest, best conditioned player on this team. And that's something I believe almost all of us have control of. How much work you put in physically in your conditioning if you're not gifted with those other athletic qualities. So coaches are looking for somebody that has all the soccer IQ, all the intangibles, but also someone that has one outstanding physical quality. It's like, wow, Ernesto just made another run. It's the 90th minute. This guy's going up and down the flank. Or, wow, like I didn't see one person take the ball off Cass all game because she's just so good at shielding it, or whatever it might be. So those are the on the field attributes and off the field attributes I really look for. Next, I want to talk about an interesting topic that's changed over the years, and I want to ask Isaiah, because Isaiah looks like a pretty smart kid. Isaiah, tell me if there's scholarships in Canada for student athletes.
I think, yeah.
You think, yeah. Wow, you must have been listening to the other coaches talk the past few weeks. Very good, very good. What kind of scholarships are there, Anthony? Talk to me about them. Let's see how well you've been listening to the other coaches.
I don't really know.
Okay, you don't know. No problem. Maybe they didn't go over that. I will go over it for you. So there's two main types of scholarships. There's also some other ones I'll talk about. But the two main scholarships you can get at going to university are academic and athletic scholarships. Okay, so whether it's academic or athletic, you must have from your grade 12 U or M courses, your best six, you must have an 80% coming in. Okay, so 80% of your top grade 12 U or M courses. One is usually has to be in English. If it's business engineering, one of them might usually have to be a math, but other programs, typically it's one English and 5 other courses. So I know there's a lot of talk about, hey, my grade 10 grades, my grade 11 grades. Those are important for sure to build the right habits and to get maybe early offers. But what teams or universities are really looking for is your grade 12 grades. So it's a double-edged sword. If you've had bad grade 10, 11 grades, you've got a second chance in grade 12. If you've had good 10, 11 grades, just keep it going through grade 12. You've already built those habits. So academic or athletic, 80% of your top 6 U or M courses. I'll tell you how the academic work, and I'll tell you how the athletic work. First, academic. If you have between an 80 and an 84.9, you get $500. If you get between 85 and 89.9, you get $1,000. If you have a 94.9, $2,000, and above 95, you get $4,000. So realizing that's you got to be pretty academically astute. Now the athletic side. If you have 80%, you can get up to $4,500, and that is 100% at my discretion. So I can see, you know what? Let's see, Maria comes in, and I think she's going to be fantastic. I think she's going to challenge for a starting spot right away. I may offer her a $3,000 athletic scholarship. She's got great grades. She's got a 90 average. She's going to add $2,000 to that, and now she's got $5,000. And a typical program at Ryerson is about $7,000 to $9,000 a year. So you're only paying a few $1,000s to go to school in a top program, top facilities, all that. Now, Andrew Diaz, who was just on the phone call, didn't mention this, but he had 95 plus. All right, so he got a $4,000 academic scholarship. He was from TFC and he was fantastic in a position of need. I gave him $4,500 in his first year. He wasn't paying anything to go to school, right? $8,500 in his pocket, and He was loving life. So his full tuition was paid in that respect. Although that's a bit of an outcast having those high of grades, but you can see the different pieces you can piece together. On top of that, Ryerson has some unique scholarships that are only available to varsity athletes. So before you come in, you can apply to different scholarships and bursaries, and that can also add on to your scholarship. If it is a scholarship that is offered to every student athlete at Ryerson, you can go above 4,500 in one section. If it's not offered to, if it's only varsity offered to varsity athletes, you're capped at 4,500. Okay. So the real takeaways from this is your top 6 URM courses are at 80%, and it'll open up so many doors for you. When I get an email from a kid that has 60s, believe me, it's not a long conversation, you know, because there's so much great talent and great clubs that I'm really picky about my grades. So it's really important that you have high academic achievement, and then, you know, perhaps you'll get a scholarship from me as well. What else? I want to talk a little bit about yearly, what it looks like. At any time, if someone wants to jump in, especially you, David, feel free.
Sure.
You know, yearly, our team is a year-round program. So number one, preseason is August. We're fortunate enough to travel throughout our conference to Ottawa, to Kingston, to Sudbury, to a couple others. And if you're a varsity athlete at Ryerson, all the Nike gear you get is paid for. You don't have to pay a cent for it. All the hotel stays, the food we have on the road, the bus trips, all that kind of stuff, 100% taken care of by the department. So you don't have to pay anything out of pocket to have that experience. If we go to the nationals and it's out of province and we fly there, all taken care of. The World Cup trip, I think the players paid a couple $100 each to go for 2 weeks because we funded it so much. So all the perks of being a varsity student athlete are included once you sign that piece of paper. A typical week, we usually have Mondays off. We train Tuesday through Friday. We usually play either Friday, Sunday, or Saturday, Sunday, or just one game on the weekend. Typically, you have one day off throughout the week. Every other day we're together, whether it's a recovery session, video sessions, training in the evening, on the road to games, playing games, study hall in the hotels on the weekend, all that kind of stuff. So if you can't commit 6 days a week and at times 7 days a week, probably not the right place for you. Maybe you should, you know, you need to pursue other things. But if you're all in on academics and all in athletically, Ryerson soccer might be the right fit for you. Scholarships. The last thing I want to talk about is a couple things, 2 things. Number one are my expectations of all the student athletes. So, you know, you've been recruited by us. We've brought you in. You've been given a scholarship in a lot of cases. My expectation is, number one, that, you know, you come in and you exceed all of my expectations. So if there's an academic expectation of 2.5, if there's an expectation of 13 on the beep test, if there's an expectation of 15 community service hours, your job is to go above and beyond that, right? Your job is to push the limits of the program where I sit back and think, wow, you know what? I need to rethink that. We need to raise our level. The expectations can't always come from the coach. The expectations can't always say, hey, we need to do this more. We need to do this more. I love when players come into my office and say, hey, our team's not good enough. We need to recruit this. Hey, we're not training hard enough. We need this. Hey, our scholarship, all this stuff. Your job is to come in and exceed the expectations of the coach and the program. That is how you're going to stand out. That's how you're going to be Diaz and Tony and get looks from the next level. And that's how you're going to be successful when you graduate Ryerson. Don't come in and settle for the minimum standard. I'll give you a perfect example. We have standards of, let's say, 13 on the beep test yearly. You know, sometimes I've raised it, sometimes I've changed it, but 13. What do you think everybody gets? Let's see. Maria, 13 is the beep test requirement, the fitness test. What do you think everybody gets?
I'm not sure, but maybe above a 13.
Yeah, well, give me some, roughly, give me some numbers. What do you think? If we have 20 players, what do you think they're getting?
Maybe 15 or 16.
Okay, that's pretty good. Believe it or not, if I say 2.5 GPA or 13 beep test, what happens? 13.1, 13.2, 13, 2.5, 2.6. People will come to your minimum expectation. Your job is to exceed that and do what Maria said and get 15, 16, get a 3.0, 3.5. Those are the exceptional people I know I can count on, and then I'll get playing time as a result of it as well. My tiebreaker for ability is always commitment, GPA, all these different pieces. So it's really important to see what the expectations are of the coach. Ask this when you're being recruited, and then your job until you get there is to exceed those. The last thing I'll talk about is what I think makes Ryerson different academically. So I just finished my MBA at Ryerson, so I've got firsthand experience of being a student there. And part of the MBA program is you have to sit in some undergraduate courses. And one of my favorite courses was something called the Business of Sport. And every semester, this professor, she would choose a different sport, business of soccer, business of basketball, business of hockey, and really analyze what that means, that sport at the highest level from a business perspective. And instead of lecturing for 2 hours every day, what she did was she brought in guest speakers from Toronto. And because we're located in downtown Toronto, we had industry leaders that are right around the corner. So one week she'd bring in Masai Ujiri from the Raptors. Another week she'd bring in the TSN CEO. Another week she'd bring in Tim Bezbatchenko, the former president of TFC, depending on whichever sport it was. And you got to sit there, talk to them, introduce yourself, say hello, hey, I'm so-and-so, I'd love to work there one day. All the universities, we all have the same textbooks. We all have the same information. We all have access to internet. But that's one thing that I think is really unique to Ryerson, is being able to meet the industry leaders. And they're able to take time out of their day because they're so close to our campus. They're just down on King Street or Queen Street. So when I talk about Ryerson as an academic institution and as an athletic institution, I really believe there's a lot of unique characteristics to it. That's all I got. That's my spiel.
That's it. That's good. I mean, it's very different. So I really like the way that you did it today and the way that you presented it, and with the players coming in, you spending the time, and really, I think the players appreciate the fact of the true honesty that they're getting. It's not just the typical, when you're at the level that you're at, it's the typical conversation that you're representing the university, but here you're giving them some really hard lessons to learn early while they're in the club environment. Is there any advice that you can give them on what to do now while they're in high school, playing at a club level, that you think would serve them well in preparation of their first year at university, or even up to preseason? Let's just go up to that part.
Yeah, absolutely. There are a couple things. Tony mentioned it. And one thing Tony didn't mention is, first of all, my first advice would be, it's never too late, and don't give up on whatever you're going for. Tony, we found in July, a month before preseason, a friend of his, a friend that was already on the team, said, hey, can I bring this guy to training? And I said, sure, it doesn't hurt us, no problem. After the first training, right after training, he was doing sprints. We had a hard 2-hour training, and this guy was working like a dog. And yeah, he was a good player, but that was the thing that stood out for me. I was just like, man, we did fitness, we played for the hour, it was a hard practice, and this guy was putting extra work in. That's the kind of stuff that grabs coaches' attentions, whether it's a tryout or with your club team practice. Those are the unique things that stand above everybody else. On top of that, you really need to invest in yourself. And whether it's adding a tutor to get your grades up, whether it is getting some more personal training on the side, asking your coaches for extra sessions, those are the little things and habits that you need to develop before you get to university. Because believe it or not, when you get here, you might be the captain, best player of your team right now, but guess what? They all are. They're all the 20 best captains and 20 best players of their team, every single player. So for you to stand out, you've got to come in with those intangibles that are unique, like Tony, like doing extra work. So I would really highly recommend, investing in yourself and getting more tutors, getting more personal training if you need it. And then I can talk a little bit about the recruiting process, but that's really, really important pieces that you need to add to your game.
Okay. Hader, you have a question for Coach?
Hi, Coach. Can you talk more about your philosophy and play style on the field?
Yeah, absolutely. So off the field, our philosophy is more than soccer. A program that gives to the community, a program that develops student athletes and develops people. But on the field, my philosophy, it's been shaped largely by, I had a really, really influential defensive coach while I played and while I was the assistant coach. And, the past few years, I've been really fortunate, to tell you a quick story. I had a student come into my office one day, this lady named Alejandra, and she asked if her brother could try out for the team. And I said, sure, why not? After a couple months with the team, I had to let him stay around. He was okay. Probably wouldn't make our team, but he was okay. I gave him some really hard feedback. And I said, hey, you're not good enough for this team. You need to work on this, 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 and this. Tryouts in August. We wish you all the best, and we'll see where it goes. Not thinking anything of it, 2 weeks later, his dad calls me and thanks me for giving him such hard advice because no one's ever said that to him. And he invited me to Colombia to watch his team prepare as they were about to go to the Club World Cup and play Real Madrid. Little did I know that her father was the head coach of a team called Atlético Nacional in Colombia. And then 2 months later, so I went to go visit him and study him. A year later, he got the Chilean national team head coaching job. So I was fortunate enough to go there and watch him. And now he's the Colombian national team head coach. His name is Reynaldo Rueda. My attacking philosophy was from him. My defensive philosophy was from another coach named Ivan. And what I developed was our playing philosophy is to attack the opponent with and without the ball. So that means high pressure. That means quick transitions. That means having a fit team that's willing to put pressure on the other team. So if you see us play, you'll see a lot of combinations on the wing. You'll see a lot of 5-second press and transition. You'll see a lot of dynamic forward movements, but the basis of it, the foundation of it, is to attack the opponent with and without the ball. Great question.
Okay, is there any other question that you guys would like to ask the coach? All right, Philip, it doesn't seem like they have any other major questions because it's great that you've outlined the academics and what happens through athletic opportunities, financial aid, bursaries, building habits, and so forth. So it's been a great conversation, and I appreciate you taking the time. I know that you're busy, and taking the time to help me to get the players to understand what culture is, what the values are, what the standards are, what the expectations are, so that they get an early lesson of it. And that's been the biggest thing that we've been trying to do at Pickering, and we haven't really sat back and just wasted time, but used it wisely enough with the coaching staff that we have now that I'm very proud of. And I can tell you that the way that these players are going in the right direction, that hopefully, they have a look at with you to go to Ryerson. I'm hoping that we can arrange a spring game at some point in time against your first and second year players for the players that we think have met the standards here that you might like there. So it's not just give me that, these are the kids that are graduating and you should look at them, but more so, well, what have they been doing since they were 13 years of age, right? So that they get that opportunity regardless if they're 15 or 18, at least they're on your radar. And hopefully we get to have an opportunity to watch you guys play so that they get an idea of what university soccer level is like.
We'd
So
love
I
that.
greatly appreciate, right? I appreciate you taking the time to meet.
Yeah, David, let me just say, you can obviously see these are tangible differences that your leadership is bringing in, so I really commend you on bringing these players in. And I wish I had a coach that did this for me when I was growing up. So, when you go back to your practices, all of you, and David and your coaches are on you about the standards on the field, know that it's coming from a good place, and you'll thank them later when you're at university. It might be hard to see it now, but you'll thank them later.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Philip. I appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for